Welcome everybody to Carl and Rick Talk Risk. Hey Rick, how are you?
I'm good, but I'd love to know what the hell you're laughing so hard
I'm trying to
about.
keep a straight face.
What? Is my hair
it's
not beautiful? Is my hair funny or something today? Is that
no,
throwing you off?
it's just the sun. It's coming at an angle, and I'm like wincing a little. It's not a smile. Anyway,
The Dutch and their fascination with the sun. Like, I mean,
I know
good gosh, okay.
it's a overcast country. Um, Rick, well, we ran out of ideas before the podcast, so
No, you ran out of ideas
I
before the
did.
podcast.
That's true. That's
Okay.
true.
I'm nothing but ideas. Now, having said that, 99.9% of them are really bad ideas, but
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
blame me for running out of ideas.
That's fair. That's fair. I take the blame on this one. But then you made it into something, which is your knack. Um, where do risk managers go when they have no ideas on how to risk manage something? That's not well said. Do you have a better one than that? What's a better setup?
I think a good question to debate is, do risk managers have ideas?
Do they have
Uh,
ideas? Okay.
because this goes back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago about risk management as rubrics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, risk. As I discussed, I think rubrics are just poison for ideas. Of course, I believe I wrote in Iris Magazine an article last year about how risk frameworks are toxic to ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And
Evil, I think you said.
well, yeah, I was trying to find kinder, gentler words, okay? Because, obviously I'm a kinder, gentler type guy. Uh, but I think that the world as a whole is in a little bit of not necessarily a creative crisis, but an idea crisis. And I really believe that that's true in risk management as well. I believe that risk is forward looking. Yes, we learn from the past. Yes, we learn from history, but it at best informs. But we're using history as the future, and we're not really coming up with um, I think risk management right now is a little bit stale.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think that we had and again, I might be biased here, but I think that risk management had a huge burst of creativity in the 1990s when, in some sense, kind of enterprise risk management came to light, thanks to James Lamb in part or large part for that. Obviously that was beginning of Premia and other organizations.
Yeah.
Um, but then it became bureaucratic. And with bureaucracies, ideas go to die.
Mm. But
And I think now, sorry, just quickly, with
yeah,
digitization and all that that brings, in particular, AI is front and center. We
yeah,
really need another burst of creativity, uh, a whole new set of ideas about risk management.
yeah, yeah. Um, where did the last burst come from? Was it the crisis? Because there were quite a lot of crises at the end of the
Yeah,
80s, early 90s.
well, well,
Or is
in
it
large part,
technology?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think a large part of it obviously came from the derivatives debacles of the 90s.
mm,
Okay, and there's literally been libraries of books written about the derivative debacles of the 90s. But that, in many ways, I believe, actually stilted the field. Now, having said that, that was Candyland for me. I was the right place, right time with the right skill set. That ironically, in the late 80s, very early 90s was totally useless. Then all of a sudden, mid 90s became, kind of in vogue. Again,
yeah,
one of the three principles I learned from business school is just when you think it's a trend, you find out it's a cycle. But the derivative
yeah,
debacles led to a whole bunch of things, JP Morgan's risk metrics, the whole nine yards. But it put us into a box with risk engineering from almost purely a financial point of view. And we did a few little guerrilla attacks to apply those financial risk management. And let's be very clear, mainly derivative risk management techniques into enterprise risk management. And everything since then, not everything, that's obviously an exaggeration, but uh, an overwhelming bulk of what's been done, in my opinion, in risk management is basically taking those ideas that were developed in the 90s and trying to shoehorn them for the 2020s, or even the knots, and for to the 2020s. And what we need is, I think, is a burst of brand new ideas. Because first off, the world's become much more digital, which in one way allows us to really feast on those quantification of risk ideas. But because of that, because of the digitization, I also believe that the world, particularly risk, understanding the social and the behavioral aspects, the human aspects of risk, and the non-digital aspects of risk, have become even more important. And we're doing less and less and less about that.
Yeah. Well, as usual, my mind was somewhere completely different when we mentioned what we're going to talk about. There's two things that come to mind. Maybe it kicks off something in you as well. But we had all these quantitative approaches, but now I think the economy and how well we measure risk is becoming second fiddle to geopolitics. That's a relatively new thing that's coming back since the end of the Cold War. Now we're starting to see these things are in many places more important than what's going on in the markets and are driving the markets. And then the second thing is, getting back to one of our earlier conversations, is where do we get ideas? I thought you might bring up working from home and being in together, because we mentioned that agility is off the charts in the office altogether, and it's garbage at home because we're all sitting so far apart from each other. But this is agility, isn't it? This is where you're bouncing ideas off each other, generating new things, and being able to act on it quickly. Yeah.
A couple of things, just real quick, to put the quant side to bed. Don't get me wrong, quants are very important, but quants are just the table stakes. They're just the opening ante now. Okay.
Yeah.
Getting to the work from home stuff and whatnot. Here, I'm going to put on my old hat as a corporate development officer. Okay. When was the last time a risk team ever went to a creativity workshop? Something like, De Bono's Six Thinking Hats or something like that. And I realize that I'm making older members of our audience groan, perhaps. But for younger members of our audience, I suspect they have no clue what a creativity workshop is. When's the last time an institution had in an improv group to work with their risk management team? When was the last time a risk management team took design workshops or did a design exercise? When was the last time a prize, a bonus, a weekend out for the family or something was given to the risk manager who came up with the most original idea for the prior month? When was the last time we truly had a breakthrough idea, like perhaps value at risk, or even the Black-Scholes option pricing model? Albeit, ironically, I'm picking two financial concepts. But, anyone really want to claim that COSO was a breakthrough? No, ISO 31000, neat concept, but yes, we've now got the updated versions. Here's a topic for some other week. Updated versions of COSO and ISO 31000. Good, bad, or ugly, or just totally irrelevant. Okay. We're really struggling, particularly with enterprise risk management. But ironically, I think the problem is more acute with uh, quantitative risk management, financial risk management.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Um, yeah.
Where's your creativity, Carl? When was the
I
last
know.
time you had a
Ah,
creativity? When
that's
was the last time you did something that wasn't regulate? Actually, here's a great question. When was the last time the regulators went to a creativity risk
oh
workshop?
boy.
But when was the last time you and or any of your peers at your fellow institutions, your peer institutions, did something that wasn't standard regulatory practice or one step removed from standard regulatory um, uh, well perceived practice that was developed? Uh, when have you had a brand new, totally different procedure since, let's say, 2012, after we more or less figured out what happened in '08?
I have an answer for you actually.
Oh,
At
but it's
a
proprietary. You get fired and I
No,
get sued.
no, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I don't remember the idea. I remember how it was generated, and I think it's kind of. I wish more workplaces. I wish more risk departments would do this because I think it was fun. Uh, at a previous risk management team in asset management, and I think that's the key here because I haven't seen this in banks, credit unions that I've worked in. They've been a bit more stale. But in asset management, I worked in a risk team where our CRO said, your Friday afternoons, I don't want you working on any regular work. I want you working on a project that you think can deliver some kind of value that's completely different to what you do in your regular work. Different risk type, different activity, be creative, think outside the box, work alone at the beginning, come up with an idea, and we're going to do this for the next like 6 months. So there was no like, yeah, this is until next week, and then you can put this to bed and it's all done. And the excitement it got buzzing in the team was really high. But I'm going to come back to what I said. I think it was in because it was in asset management. We could we worked very closely with the trading team. The first line we were So there was a lot of excitement at this, and I think it was the right time for it. This was in 2013, 2014. So it was also around the European sovereign debt crisis. There was things going on in the market, and it was a lot of fun. So I
But
don't
this
remember the
is going to bring
ideas.
me back to another one of my horses that I like to jump on.
Yeah.
Okay, isn't it interesting that it's the asset management team? Now, you know, the asset management team is probably in the institution the one of the main areas that is looking mainly at upside risk. Yes, they're looking at downside risk solely as it affects the upside risk. But this comes back to my point that risk is the possibility that bad or good things may happen. That risk management has to manage the upside as well as the downside. Now, isn't it interesting that your sole example that you can come up with is something that manages the upside?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Okay,
think that's an
whereas the
accident.
rest of risk is so focused on the downside, which again, I believe is to the detriment of the profession.
Yeah.
Um, but isn't that a little ironic?
Yeah. Yeah. No accident. That's no coincidence. I 100% agree. It actually gets into one of the topics I did want to propose and completely forgot about. There was an interesting speech from Scotty Scheffler. I know you don't watch a lot of golf, Rick, but Scotty
Oh,
Scheffler's the
oh,
biggest. I know,
I'm
I
sorry. Are you
know,
still there?
I
No.
know. So I don't follow it that closely, but if you know me, I used to play a lot of golf and I was quite interested in it. Scotty Scheffler's the biggest thing in golf at the moment. He's winning majors, multiple majors a year. And I didn't watch the full press conference, but he was asked about his priorities or why he does this or something. And he basically went on a philosophical rant about, well, like, I don't really care about this. This is not even in my top three priorities. I don't know why I do this. He spoke about his family and the topic I was going to propose because I found this speech so interesting was why do risk managers do what we do? You know, how often do we ask that question at the beginning of the workday and say, why am I doing this? and really, really, really step back and ask that and go from there. And yeah, you're getting to it with your comments on asset management. I think being able to look on the upside is exciting. It's invigorating. It does bring out some creativity in us that we need. Yeah, you were gonna jump in.
Well, no, I just going to answer your question. Why I do it is, two of the giants of risk management that I look up to, John Fraser and Felix Kloman, uh, they were passionate about risk, and I got the passion about risk. I think it is an absolutely fascinating subject. Okay,
Yeah.
and uh, that brings the creativity into it. It's literally the creativity of Shakespeare. It's the human emotions. It's luck. It's fate. It's providence. It's divine intervention. It's every drama in life and comedy in life that you can think of rolled into one into day-to-day living. But yet still we reduce it to a bunch of numbers that we calculate day after day after day and fall asleep. I did see the clickbait headlines of the article from the golfer. And I think he's right. There are other priorities. But having said that, um, passion's got to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's great to be a professional. It's great to be a professional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to be a truly great professional, you've also got to have the passion, and that is, and the creativity, and coming up with ideas. That's what creates passion. That's what takes a good risk manager into a great risk manager.
Yeah.
And the
it's in that
fact
order.
that the golfer has other interests that he's passionate about, awesome. That, I believe, probably builds up his golf.
Do you think that's often confused? I speculating now, but I wonder if a lot of people think they can discipline their way into the passion, and I don't think you can. You need to have some sort of spark of enjoyment to get to. You need the discipline eventually, but there's got to be a spark. You got to see something in this.
Yeah, I think that if you're running purely on passion, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I think because no one remains passionate about something each and every day, and be quite frank, we have to show up each and every day. But also, it's really hard to be a good professional where each and every day you're carrying your lunch bucket in. Okay. Now, I believe that you need both of those. You need a lunch bucket professional mentality, and you need the passion. And yes, those aren't always going to be equal, but when one's low, the other should be high, and vice versa. And if they're both high, awesome. You're working in flow.
Yeah. Well, Rick, I just want to say one. A long time ago, when we were thinking of episodes, I think you brought up the idea of doing a Seinfeld episode about nothing. And I think this is it. Out of nothing came everything.
I want my big salad, damn it. Where's my Pez dispenser? I'm going to do the exact opposite of everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
Get me my Cubans. Meanwhile, we just lost everyone under the age of 35.
I know. It's good.
Well, actually, I lost everyone under the age of 35.
Yeah. Seinfeld encyclopedia, Rick. Anyway, okay. I think that's a great stopping point. Give us your thoughts in the comments. We always love to hear. Thanks for all the comments recently. It's been very active. It's good to see. Until next time, it's been Carl and Rick. Adios.